Okay, guys. So we've had a day or so now to watch the developments in Turkey. So right now the fatality count is 4,000 and climbing. I saw one estimate that said there were 13,000 separate buildings collapsed or severely damaged. And there's video out there you can see of apartment buildings just collapsing into the street. This is like absolute worst case survival situation. There are literally millions of people in metropolitan, well, I'm going to call them metropolitan, urban areas, we'll call it that, of Turkey, that are now homeless with no shelter to go to. They're opening up football stadiums and things like that for people to shelter to. I'm watching some videos of people in Turkey who are just like, I just need some dry shoes. I need a blanket. The gas is out. They can't heat, which all the structure's down, so what are you heating anyway? But they also use gas for the bakeries in Turkey, and bread. Staff of life is a big part of the diet in that part of the world. So not having bread's a big deal to them. Not like it is here to us, where it's an inconvenience. To them, it's a big deal. And so they can't cook, they can't heat. All their possessions and belongings are buried under the rubble. And in a situation like that, you got to realize quick the conundrum you're in, the situation you're in, and realize it really fast too, because if you can get your family out of the disaster zone, to some friends or some relatives or to a hotel out of the area or whatever, so they're taken care of, because again, you got to remember, you've lost everything, okay? But let's say you manage to do that. Then you can make a decision, do I want to go back and assist the rescue, or do I need to take care of my family? And that's a personal decision that everybody has to make, because this is certainly a case where you've heard me say it, you've heard others say it countless times, that you are your own first responder. And this is really the case. There are not enough people to respond to everybody who needs rescuing in Turkey right now. There's simply not. Israel sent a crew, and Israel and Turkey aren't always on the best of relations. Greece sent a crew, and Greece and Turkey certainly are not on good relations. They have a border dispute. Cyprus offered to send. They're one of the first countries to offer to send Turkey aid. Turkey turned them down because Cyprus and Turkey, same thing. They're having a little border dispute. It has a lot to do with seas around the islands. But everybody's offering to help. But we look at the damage of that 7.8 earthquake that hit Turkey, and a 7.5, I guess one of the shocks was, and compare that to the 89 San Francisco earthquake that was like a 6.5, I think it was. Excuse me. And if you recall, if you're old enough, or if you want to go back and Google them and look up the images of that, there were buildings that collapsed in San Francisco. Like the whole bottom first floor, many of them just collapsed. The rest of the buildings sit on top of it. Unlike what we see in Turkey, where the buildings collapse, they look like they've been imploded. They're just collapsing straight down. That says a lot about the structural integrity and probably building codes, which I imagine they aren't real big on building codes in Turkey, would be my impression, just from the level of damage. I mean, it's a known seismic area. Concrete is the preferred building medium over there. In the Mediterranean area, and especially Syria, you start getting into the air barriers. I mean, they have an abundance of sand, but timber's hard to come by. So they build a lot of stuff out of concrete. But the thing is, they don't reinforce with rebar like we do here all the time, or they put very little rebar in if they even do. So that's why we're seeing these collapses like we're seeing. So building codes are a big deal. But the 89 earthquake, there were 36, I think, or 37 fatalities, with like 3,700, a little over 3,700 injuries. Turkey's looking at, right now, the official number was 4,000 is what I just saw. It's obviously higher than that. That number's probably going to double, triple, or even quadruple, I would imagine. The final toll will probably be kind of staggering. This is a major event. And these people are caught now with nothing. And they're in the midst of a harsh winter, too. There is cold weather there. It's snow. It is freezing. And these folks are literally outside, no shelter, trying to do what they can, trying to come up with food, trying to come up with fuel, trying to come up with everything. So that's why it's important to have a PACE plan for your family, a primary plan, an alternate plan, a contingency plan, and an emergency plan. And you start working through those. As soon as something happens, what's our primary plan? Our primary plan is a no joy. We can't do that one. All right, what's our alternate? Is our alternate good? Alternate's bad too? All right, we're moving on to contingency now. And if we have to, we go to our emergency. And our emergency is always a last ditch, very keep it simple, stupid plan. It will be less complicated than those, because if you're activating the emergency portion of a PACE plan, everything's gone to shit. And it's time to panic, and it's like flee or die kind of moment. But you still need a plan even in those times, at least a rally point, something of that effect. And that's why it's important for us to remember these things and develop them. Nobody in Syria that went to bed that night thought an earthquake was going to knock their house down on top of them. And that's what happens to every person who suffers in a disaster or any of the other kind of accident like that. Nobody wakes up in the morning thinking, I'm going to get shot today in the street, But we have to have these plans, and we have to be situationally aware. I saw an interesting video that somebody in Turkey had taken right before the earthquake. They were filming some trees outside their apartment. It was dark, but all these birds were in the air, just cackling and squawking and making a hell of a racket. And they were landing on the tops of these very tall trees. And this was just moments before the earthquake. And that kind of thing has been reported in the past. So if I lived in a seismic active area and I was woke up in the middle of the night by thousands of birds flying around screaming, I might be like, hey, let's go hang out in the front yard for a while. Maybe not be inside. If I lived in a structure I didn't think it would withstand it. There are signs, and nature will often give them to us, and that was one. I've seen other reports. Same thing happens. Earthquakes are inbound, and some of the wildlife will know. You'll see them acting in weird ways. Just an afterthought there. But remember, a pace plan, worst case scenario, what are we going to do? This is where it's important to also keep your clothing and your shoes by your bed and a flashlight right by your bed so that you can find in the dark without having to move. So that if you have to get out of your house in the middle of the night, you can jump up, throw clothes on, you've got a light, you can hit the door and go. So that's why we should also have bags packed near our doors. Mine, Mel's, lives in our vehicles, so that's not a problem. They're outside. If we get out of the house, we're golden. We get out of the vehicles, we can take care of it. But that's part of our plan. So if you don't have a pace plan, make one. If you do have one, what's yours look like? What are the steps in your pace plan? Just out of curiosity. So remember, folks, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.